G'day everyone, welcome to Inside Rugby with Mark. If you haven't been here before, my name is Mark. I'm a retired Kiwi bloke. I'm a huge rugby fan and I'm living here in beautiful Cancun in Mexico. Welcome to today's show. G'day everyone, welcome to the channel. Great to have you here. We've got a huge weekend of autumn international rugby to kick off in about 5 hours time when the All Blacks will take on Ireland at Aviva Stadium in Dublin. But this video is all about Scotland versus South Africa, which is going to be played on Sunday in this year's autumn international series. And boy, what news we have out of the South African camp. Rassie Erasmus has done it again. He's decided to go for the nuclear squad. Yes, we've got the nuclear squad playing this game. And that's pretty much the first time we've seen the nuclear squad this season in 2024. So it's going to be really interesting. But first of all, let's go through the two teams, talk about those and the players, and I'll tell you what I think is going to happen in this particular game at Murrayfield on Sunday. Now, Scotland had that good win last weekend against Fiji, although it was, as we said in the video, a kind of a temporary Fiji team. They didn't have all their top 14 players in the team. So that was a good win by Scotland. We saw Darcy Graham scoring 4 tries. He won't be in the Scottish team today. He's out through head injury protocols, and we won't see him probably until the next Scotland game. So that was one of the changes that Scotland had to make. They also had Finn Russell and Blair Kinghorn out of their team last weekend due to contractual arrangements with their respective club sides, and now we see them available again for selection in this particular team. So let's go through Scotland, starting off in their forwards and their front row, and we're going to see Pierre Schumann, we're going to see Ashman, and we're going to see Zander Fagerson. Now this is going to be a huge test, of course, for the Scottish front row. They're going to be up against the world champions, and it's going to be extremely interesting to see whether or not Scotland can get any kind of a platform here in this game, because it's really going to determine a lot. I've said a number of times throughout my videos that I don't think a team has to be absolutely dominant in possession to be able to win a game. They need to be able to use the possession that they do get in an effective way. So that's going to be an important aspect for Scotland in this game. If the South African forwards do dominate in this game, are Scotland going to be able to get enough ball to be able to use in an effective manner to score enough points to beat them? That's going to be one of the big question marks. Okay, moving on to the locks for Scotland, and we're going to see Gilchrist and Cummings again. We saw them last week. They played very well. I thought they were good in the lineouts, and we saw some good breaking runs in open play from Gilchrist, but they're up against the best this weekend. So let's see how they go in this encounter. And then moving on to the loosies, and as always, this is going to be an interesting challenge on both sides. And we're going to see Matt Fagerson, Rory Darge, and Jack Dempsey for Scotland in the loose forwards. You know, pilfering ball off South Africa is always a very difficult task. So these three are going to be tasked with getting in there and being able to get quick early ball for the Scottish team. I don't know how much luck they're going to have with that. They're going to be up against some maestros when it comes to scoring ball from the breakdown, but these three are going to have to play very, very well. I thought Jack Dempsey had a great game last weekend against Fiji until he was replaced in the second half. So let's see what he can bring this weekend and whether or not he can make a difference. I think though South Africa are going to have an advantage in the loose forwards in this game. Now Scotland's gone for a 6-2 split in this game, so having a look at their forwards that have come off the bench, and it's going to be Richardson, Sutherland, Miller-Mills, Williamson, Bayliss, Ritchie. So a good bench for Scotland, but they're up against it again with the South Africans, and the South Africans have done something special. We're going to talk about that when we get to their team, but it's going to be a very critical part of this game, no doubt about it, how the Scottish bench goes against the Springboks. Are they going to be able to get enough momentum or any momentum at all when it comes to trying to counter-attack what South Africa are going to do in this game? So this is going to be a critical area of the game. Keep your eye on it. What's going to happen in the last 20 to 30 minutes of this game is going to be really, really interesting. So let's take a look at the Scottish backline now that's going to start this game, and a couple of changes throughout the backline which are going to be very interesting to watch what difference they make against South Africa. At number 9, we're going to see Ben White. He's in for Ali Price, who played last weekend against Fiji. I think this is a good move by Gregor Townsend. White's going to be a bit more consistent and also a bit faster to help his number 10 man get away in the Scottish backline. I'm talking about Finn Russell, of course, who's going to play number 10. He's back in the team. He's a maestro. He's as good as any number 10 going around in World Rugby today. So watch out what impact Finn Russell is going to be able to have on his game. Not only his passing and his ability to do those little quick passes that get people into gaps, but also his kicking. He's very good at 50-22s, and he can keep Scotland on the front foot. It's all going to come down to how much is Finn Russell going to be in this game. How much will South Africa allow him to play his natural game? Keep your eyes on Finn Russell. And then moving out to the centres, and we've got Tui Piloto. He's going to be the captain again. Thought he did a great job against Fiji. He was very good in general play, I thought, and also defence. So Tui Piloto, and then outside him, Hugh Jones, who's got to be one of the best centres in World Rugby at the moment, if not the best 13 in World Rugby. Very underrated Hugh Jones. He played very well against Fiji last weekend, and now he gets a true test against South Africa, so it's going to be awesome to see how he goes. And then on the wings, we've got Blair Kinghorn coming back for Scotland this weekend. Yes, he's back from his time out with the contractual arrangements last weekend, and we're going to see him in the number 11 jersey, taking over from Darcy Graham, of course, who's out with that head injury protocol process. And then on the other wing, we've got Duhan van der Merwe, of course, a try-scoring machine for Scotland, but is he going to see enough ball in this particular game? Then at fullback, we're going to see Tom Jordan for Scotland. I'm very excited to see this. He played very well when he came on last weekend. The New Zealand-born player, of course, he's just qualified now to play for Scotland after 5 years of residency, and he's a very, very good player. So let's see what Tom Jordan can do against the Springboks from fullback. So a very good starting backline for Scotland. How much play they're going to be able to get into against the South African team? Well, that's going to be the big question, isn't it? And then because we've got the 6-2 split for Scotland, we're going to see two players coming off the bench in the backline. We're going to see Dobby, who played last week. He did pretty well. And we're going to see McDowell come on as well. Is this going to be as effective as what South Africa is going to bring off the bench? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. So why don't we have a look at the South African team that's been named for this game right now. Now, looking at the Springboks team for this game, well, Rassie always interests me with a lot of his decisions that he makes, and he's a coach that decides to push the envelope all the time. And he's done it with this selection of the Springboks team against Scotland. And I've got to say, I really, really like it. I think it's going to be really interesting to watch. So let's have a look at the forwards first. And in that front row, well, what can we say? It's Oxenchair, it's Bonnami, and it's Thomas du Toit. Oxenchair has been playing as good as any prop in World Rugby this year. He's absolutely on fire. And I think this front row is going to give Scotland a very hard time. So watch some immediate impact in the scrums for South Africa. Moving on to the locks, the old guards have been reunited. Yes, we've got Eben Etzebeth and Franco Mostert starting in the locks, and Etzebeth is going to be captain in this game, so a fantastic honour for him as well, leading out the Springboks again. And it's going to be good to see how Franco Mostert goes coming back into the South Africa team after being out for some time. And I like this pairing for South Africa, and a little bit unfortunate for Ruan Nortje. He's been playing very, very well so far this season. Now the back three and the forwards is where it gets interesting for me for the starting lineup, and I don't think too many people would have picked this before Rassie had decided to name this team. And on the flanks to start this game, we're going to see Marco van Staden, we're going to see Lowe, and at the back we're going to see Kwagga Smith. And this is fantastic. I wanted to see Kwagga Smith start a game for some time. He's finally getting an opportunity. I'm a huge fan of Kwagga Smith. In the day when we talk about the bulk and the beastie size of some of these South African players, Kwagga Smith is still one of those guys who's small enough and great on his feet to be able to make a difference, and it comes down to his hard work and his beast-like mentality when it goes about when we talk about going in there and getting the ball for South Africa. He also pops up and scores a couple of unexpected tries from time to time for the Springboks, so keep your eye on Kwagga Smith at number 8. I think he's going to have a great start to this game. But it's the 7-1 split that everyone's talking about, of course, that Rassie's done in this game, and we've got a nuclear squad coming off the bench for the Springboks, and they include Malcolm Marx, Gerhard Steenkamp, Vincent Koch, R.G. Schneemann, Sia Kolesi, Peter Steph du Toit, and Jasper Wiese. So an absolutely fantastic bench to come on. Who would love to have this bench in their national team across the world? This is going to be really, really impressive to see. And of course, Rassie's going to have the option of being able to bring these guys on at any time during the game. So if anything starts to go wrong with the starting 8 for the Springboks, which I doubt is going to happen, Rassie is going to be able to bring these players on to make a difference. But if they all come on at once, expect the Murrayfield crowd to erupt and expect there to be a big impact on the game. So I think this is going to be a really significant aspect of the game. Now, looking at the South African backline, also quite a few changes here from what we probably could have expected. And starting off at halfback, we've got Jaden Hendricks. Then we've got Andre Pollard at number 10, an interesting choice for me. I thought we might have seen Mani Lebok in this game, but it's going to be Andre Pollard. And then moving into the centres, and we've got Andre Esterhuizen. I love how big and strong and willing he is to break the line. I wish New Zealand had a player like Andre Esterhuizen. And then outside him, we've got Lucano Arm. The wingers for this game, fairly interesting choices here as well. Makazolo Mapimpi on one side, Kanan Moody on the other side. And at fullback, it's the trusted Willie LaRue, who's getting more and more closer now to those 100 games for South Africa. The one and only bench back is going to be Grant Williams. He could have a busy afternoon, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. So there we go. South Africa has chosen a 7-1 split for this particular game. A very interesting concept from Rassie. Of course, he's done it before, not in this season in 2024, and we'll have to see what happens. Does this give Scotland a chance or an opportunity in this game? Well, let's get on to my prediction right now. Okay, prediction time, and I'll start off by saying what I saw of Scotland last weekend that worried me a little bit. During that game against Fiji, there was about a 25-minute period towards the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half where Scotland went to sleep. And during that time, Fiji really got some momentum in the game. Granted, there was no Finn Russell, there was no Blair Kinghorn last week, but I don't think they really missed those two guys too much last week, because we saw fantastic performances from Adam Hastings, who's unlucky not to be in the team, I think, this week, and also from Darcy Graham, and also from Tui Piloto. So I don't think that Scotland really missed those two players last week. Of course, having them back in the team this week's going to make a big difference. And Finn Russell's going to have to make sure that Scotland keep their pedal on the metal for the whole 80 minutes of this game, because if they do have any lapses in concentration or momentum, South Africa is going to take advantage of it. Now, when it comes to South Africa in this game, there's a couple of things that stick out for me. First of all, Andre Pollard's selection at number 10, and also the 7-1 bomb squad. I think Rassie's going to try and blow Scotland off Murrayfield with sheer brute force and power in this game and controlled rugby. I think South Africa are not undermining Scotland at all. They've got their eye on that England game next weekend, and they're really going to test out their forward domination in this game. So watch for South Africa playing a very structured game in the beginning. I suspect the first 20 minutes is going to be very controlled. They're going to go after a lot of domination up front, a lot of territory, with Andre Pollard playing for the corners and then setting up the set pieces. Now, if that turns out to be the case, then expect to see South Africa run it wide and put it through the hands. So we see Andre Esterhuizen making some bursting runs at number 12, getting close to the Scottish line off set piece plays. Also look for Marco van Staden and Quagga Smith to do some interesting things off the back of the scrum and set pieces as well. So I really think South Africa is going to play this one up front to start off with, to make sure that they get over top of the Scottish team. And once that platform is going to be built, then we'll see the game starting to open up. And I really hope we do, because I want to see the likes of Kanan Moody, who I think we never see enough of in the Springbok jersey. He's one of my favourite players. He's got an enormous amount of talent, and I'd like to see him with some ball in space in this game to show us what he can do. Mapimpi, of course, is brilliant at scoring tries, and I hope that he gets put in space in this game as well. We're hoping Lucano Arm gets a lot of his good form back and starts to get back to that very top level that we're used to seeing him in a Springbok jersey. I don't think he's quite been there so far in 2024, and of course it's been interrupted by injury. So I think there's a lot to see and watch in the South African performance this weekend, and I think it's all going to be based around that forward domination. So when that bench comes on, expect to see the likes of Kalesi, Peter Steph du Toit really taking it to the Scottish team. And I wouldn't be surprised if Scotland are able to leak a few tries in the end of this game. And what I mean by that is I see South Africa, because of the impact of this particular bench coming on late in the game, I can see South Africa scoring 3 tries or so during that period of the game. That's going to be a very, very interesting aspect. I can't see anything other than a dominating South African victory against Scotland at Murrayfield on Sunday. I hope Scotland are able to be very competitive in this game, but I can't see them lasting 80 minutes in terms of defensive work they're going to have to do, and also the prowess in the forwards they're going to have to bring. I think their forwards are very good, Scotland, but they're not up for being able to keep the momentum going, particularly when the bench comes on. And of course, that's going to be a strategy that Rassie's playing to in this game, obviously by choosing a 7-1 split. So I see this game, if it's not already gone by half time for Scotland, I see South Africa dominating in the second half, particularly in the back end of the second half. I think this game can really open up for South Africa with the dominance of that bomb squad, and they'll run away with it by about 20 or 25 points. That's my prediction. I think this is a very good Scottish team. Don't underestimate them at all. But I think what they're dealing with in this group of South African players, we're going to really see the depth of South African rugby this weekend by this team that Rassie's has been selected. And I think we're going to see that particularly happen in the second half of this game. That's my prediction. Now let me know in the comments what you think. Are you surprised with the South African selections, particularly if you're a South African fan? If you are a Scottish fan, am I blowing smoke in the air with this one? Do you think Scotland's got a really realistic chance of beating South Africa in this game with this particular selection that they put out on the park? I really love to hear in your comments. And if you are a neutral fan watching my channel, who do you think is going to win this game? And let me know why in the comments as well. Always reading your comments, and I will respond to you as long as they're respectful. So there we go, we're just a few hours from week number 2 of the Autumn International Series kicking off. I'm super excited. We've got Ireland versus the All Blacks this afternoon at our time here in Cancun, Mexico. And then it's in for some great games over the weekend, including the Scotland versus South Africa game. I'll be back with many more previews and reviews. I know somebody asked for a preview on the Italy-Argentina game. So hold your horses, that one's coming. It's going to be an exciting belter, that one. Looking forward to it. And I've seen the 2 teams that have been named. I'll tell you what, there's some exciting players named for that particular game as well. I will be back after all the games with a review video, so make sure you stay tuned. The best way to do it is choose one or more of these options on the screen right now to become part of our global rugby community here on Inside Rugby with Mark. I love having all the rugby fans from across the world interacting on this channel, and we're going to keep building it as we grow momentum across the world. So thank you very much for your support. I'll see you all again very soon in the next video. Until then, stay safe, stay well everyone, keep enjoying your rugby across the world, and don't forget, there's 16 rugby international games this weekend alone. So let's help the great game grow across the world. It's time to say adios from beautiful Cancun in Mexico. I'll see you all again very soon. Bye for now.